So I'm here today with Dr. Tyler Standiford, a doctor of biomechanics at Utah Valley University. So you've done a lot of studies recently in terms of creating speed in the golf swing. There's one key thing that I see you do over and over with force plates. Let's talk about that today. I've got a lot of force now on my lead foot.
Lead leg, yep.
Does that mean I do nothing with the trail foot?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's like, what is my trail foot doing? And the trail foot's really important for sure on that back, right? You really got to load into that back leg. But when we start talking about the downswing, still that trail foot has this capability to produce a really nice rotational torque around your body.
Okay.
It's not going to do it by producing a lot of force. And the reason why is because right now, I'll kind of put this club as like a mimicking axis of rotation, where initially I start up and I'm kind of doing some turns this way. But once I start really getting into that swing, what happens is that axis of rotation is going to shift forward, or
Right.
at least it should.
Right, so your sternum, I mean, when we look on a face-on view of any good golfer, there's a definite shift of the center of your mass clear towards your left ankle.
Yep.
I mean, multiple inches, not like millimeters.
No, I mean, we're talking a lot of shift
A
there.
lot of shift.
Again, with our good players, right? Our good players, who we're trying to mimic, right?
Right.
So as this comes a little bit forward, what happens is, yes, this is going to produce some torque, and torque is just a product of how much force are you producing and how far are you from the axis of rotation. So because this leg is a little bit further from the axis of rotation, it's not going to generate as much force, but it still is going to create that nice rotational torque.
So my right side of my body and left side of the body need to rotate at the same speed. So if this is, I don't know, 3 times closer to the left leg force than the right leg force, I need basically 3 times the rotation force here than I do here, right?
Interestingly enough, I'm trying to think off the top of my head some numbers. Again, the one I just came from, he was about at 1,600 newtons, so that was almost 2 times body weight on his lead leg. He was generating a ton of force. His trail leg was maybe more like 400 or 500. Right? I mean, these ratios, some golfers, you'll see that even less on that trail leg potentially. What you don't want to see coming down through impact is equal forces on those. Because all that's saying is I've lost that kind of ability to really get things going forward, and I want to really generate that force and torque through that lead leg. The trail leg is that supporting one. Right?
Okay. So when I think of the arm motion through all the swings, it goes up and to the left. I can't, if I haven't shifted my torso towards the left ankle, I get kind of stuck here, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I shift my torso towards the left ankle, I have much more freedom to have the arms rotate, rapidly through impact through here, right? So you have to move, right? Every good golfer that you look at, there's a big lateral shift. So now we're saying just the physics of having symmetry of my trunk rotation, this is going to have a lot more force than this side because I'm closer to where I'm pivoting much closer to my left hip than my left ankle than my right ankle, right, in terms of where I'm connected to the ground. So a lot more force here versus here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you're going to feel that on the lead leg.
And I think the other place the force comes from, and you mentioned this, so I have to bring it up because you mentioned it, right?
Okay.
But as you talk about the lead leg, you talked really nicely about this center of mass shift, right? The fact that in really good players, we see that shifting forward. Well, what can't happen with those players is you can't have that shift so much forward. At some point, you've got to stop that shift forward. And if we think of the idea of force preceding motion, well, how do I stop this forward shift forward? What way do I have to send force? I got to send some force in these directions, right? And so another thing that lead leg does, we've talked about the vertical, right? We talked about this nice rotation here. The other thing it does is actually kind of create some force that's away from your target, right?
So I've shifted, but then as I'm coming through impact, I'm not continuing to shift through impact.
No.
So there's a shift and it very quickly stops. And then I turn.
Then you get that nice turn.
A really nice turn. So this leg is really helping go. There's a lot of up, around,
and stop, almost the stopping force.
Stop, up and around.
Yep.
So that's why it can be 1.3, 1.4 times the body.
And that's just the vertical. If we go the overall forces, if we sum all those forces together and do some math to get the overall force, now we're approaching in the realms of like 2 times body weight. Again, on one leg, right? That's a lot of force.
So working your muscles with squats, jumps.
Yeah.
Those types of things are really going to be beneficial from
sure.
a golf swing perspective.
For sure, and those are the kind of things that I'm lucky to see in my lab, looking at different training modalities, be it strength training, speed training, kind of drills, technique things, and then being able to see what they can do as a result of those changes.
Got a fairway wood with Nelly Corda, and let's look at the sequence. See the right hip going back, and now shift, the lateral shift, and the arms are still shallowing. Arms are still shallowing, and this would be...
that's you'd see that force just really maximize there. You can almost, it's tough with the angle, but you can almost see that heel coming off the ground just a little bit. Just so much force going to that lead leg at this point of the swing.
And then she's caught it through the ball of the foot, rotate it left, and now the arms, of course, follow, and then the club head is last thing through. You can see, literally, we talked in one of our earlier segments about a jump, a rotational jump.
Yep. And this is, you're seeing, this is almost long drive style, not quite, but a similar idea where look at where her foot started and look at where it finished. You can just see from where it's kind of on the ground to where she really starts to interact, and now it finishes in a position that's responding to those forces that are causing that rotation, those vertical forces that puts her foot in that position.
Click on the panel on the video or on the link in the description below, and you'll get access to a free premium video that's going to show you a great drill, how to shallow the club that goes right in line with the movement of the hips.